The United States, often seen as the indispensable nation, projects unparalleled power across the globe. But is this foundation, built on decades of economic strength and global leadership, now built on sand? Cracks are spreading through the very fabric of the nation, from crumbling infrastructure to deepening inequality. Our political system is paralyzed by division, with deep rifts evident in polarized rallies and protests. As America looks inward, rivals are challenging its long-held dominance, chipping away at the dollar's global standing. Other powers are rising, filling the void left by a distracted America and reshaping the global order. Discover the full story of these profound shifts in our special ATM documentary. Watch now.
They report the chaos. We reveal the agenda.
Good evening, and welcome to ATM, the United States of America, the indispensable nation, the world's sole superpower. Its military spans the globe, its culture dominates our screens, and its dollar underpins the entire global economy. It projects an image of unparalleled, unshakable power. But what if that image is just a gilded facade, cracking under the weight of unimaginable debt and internal decay? America projects unparalleled power, but is its foundation built on sand? As of October 2025, it has surged past $37 trillion, an astronomical sum. The Congressional Budget Office's latest projections, released summer 2025, paint a terrifying picture, with debt to GDP ratios heading towards levels not seen since World War II. This is driven by rising interest rates and mandatory spending on programs like Social Security and Medicare. For decades, America financed this debt thanks to the dollar's exorbitant privilege as the world's reserve currency. The world had to buy U.S. bonds, but that privilege is now under direct assault. The weaponization of the dollar, freezing Russian assets, and imposing sanctions has spooked the world. China's recent retaliatory sell-off of U.S. treasuries was a warning shot. The rise of the BRICS bloc and their push for de-dollarization is a strategic siege. Nations are actively seeking alternatives, trading in local currencies, building parallel financial systems like the Global South Development Bank. Just last week, Saudi Arabia confirmed it would accept yuan for some oil sales, directly challenging the petrodollar system. This isn't just symbolic. It reduces global demand for dollars, potentially forcing the U.S. to offer higher interest rates to attract buyers for its debt. This further exacerbates the debt spiral. The very foundation of American financial dominance is being chipped away, brick by painful brick. While its financial privilege erodes abroad, America's physical foundations are crumbling at home. Its infrastructure, once the envy of the world, is now a symbol of neglect. Roads, bridges, water pipes, power grids, many are decades past their intended lifespan, operating on borrowed time. News reports about lead pipes contaminating water supplies further underscore the severity of the issue. Despite recent attempts at investment, the scale of the problem is immense, hindering economic growth and creating daily hazards. It's a visible symbol of a nation struggling to invest in its own future, distracted by internal divisions and external challenges. Now, we explore the deep social fractures tearing America apart from within. America's crumbling infrastructure mirrors a deeper decay, the fracturing of its society. This isn't just about roads and bridges. It's about the foundational elements that hold a nation together, slowly eroding beneath the surface. A nation once bound by a shared dream is now increasingly defined by its divisions: economic, political, and cultural. These fissures run deep, creating a landscape where common ground is scarce and understanding is often replaced by animosity. This is the story of a house divided against itself, a weakness that rivals are keenly observing and potentially exploiting. The internal strife within the United States presents a vulnerability on the global stage, as external actors watch for opportunities to advance their own interests. Wealth inequality in the U.S. has reached staggering levels, reminiscent of the Gilded Age. This period of rapid economic growth and industrialization was also marked by extreme disparities, a historical parallel that offers a stark warning for today's society. While the top 1% have seen their wealth explode, fueled by decades of favorable policies and asset inflation, the bottom half struggles with stagnant wages and rising costs. The wealthiest 1% now own more than half the total value of the public equity market, a concentration of wealth that profoundly impacts economic opportunity for the majority. Federal Reserve data as of Q3 2025 shows that the bottom 50% of Americans hold barely 3% of the nation's wealth, a share that has steadily declined over recent decades. For instance, the median black family had only $24,100 in wealth in 2019, a mere 12.7% of the typical white family's $189,100, highlighting profound racial disparities. This economic chasm fuels deep resentment and erodes social cohesion, creating a society where upward mobility feels increasingly like a distant dream. The stark contrast in economic realities fosters a sense of injustice and division among different segments of the population. It contributes to devastating social problems, from the opioid epidemic ravaging communities to declining life expectancy among the working class. These issues are not isolated incidents, but symptoms of deeper systemic inequalities that disproportionately affect those with fewer resources. The American dream of upward mobility feels increasingly out of reach for millions, replaced by a sense of permanent precarity. Many Americans now face the constant threat of economic instability, with little hope for improving their financial standing or securing a better future for their children. This social division is both reflected in and amplified by a deeply polarized and dysfunctional political system. The ideological chasm between political factions has grown so wide that it often overshadows the common good, leading to legislative paralysis and public frustration. Hyperpartisanship has gridlocked Washington, where compromise is seen as betrayal rather than a necessary component of effective governance. The percentage of Americans self-identifying as politically moderate reached a record low of 34% in 2025, indicating a significant shift towards more extreme political stances. Governance has devolved into a zero-sum game of perpetual conflict, often focused on cultural wedge issues rather than the nation's pressing structural problems. This constant battle over identity and values distracts from critical challenges like infrastructure, healthcare, and education, leaving them unaddressed. This paralysis is now fueling something deeper, more visceral. We are witnessing the rise of potent anti-establishment movements across the country, sometimes referred to collectively as the No King movements, which express profound dissatisfaction with the status quo. These groups, diverse in their specific grievances but united in their profound distrust of federal authority, frame the government in Washington as an overreaching, almost tyrannical force. They believe that centralized power has become detached from the needs and desires of ordinary citizens, leading to a call for greater local autonomy. Recent articles in The Atlantic analyze how these movements, amplified by social media, are challenging the very legitimacy of federal institutions in unprecedented ways. The rapid spread of information and misinformation online has given these groups a powerful platform to organize and disseminate their messages, further eroding public trust in established authorities. Trust in institutions, Congress, the presidency, the Supreme Court, even the electoral process itself is hovering near historic lows, according to recent Gallup polling from fall 2025. In 2022, only 7% of Americans expressed a great deal or quite a lot of confidence in the legislative branch of government, a stark indicator of widespread disillusionment. This paralysis prevents the nation from tackling its fundamental challenges, from the national debt to crumbling infrastructure, creating a dangerous feedback loop of decline, disillusionment, and growing anti-government fervor. The inability to address these critical issues only deepens public cynicism and fuels further calls for radical change. The physical decay, the social chasm, the political paralysis, and the rise of movements rejecting central authority, they all feed into a profound sense of disillusionment, a feeling that the American system itself is broken. This pervasive sentiment undermines the very foundations of national unity and collective purpose. The very idea of a unified American identity, a shared national purpose, is fracturing under the strain of these deep-seated divisions. The traditional narratives that once bound Americans together are being challenged, replaced by a multitude of competing identities and loyalties. These deep internal divisions are not happening in a vacuum. They are being watched, analyzed, and exploited by global rivals who see America's internal strife as an opportunity to advance their own geopolitical agendas. The nation's vulnerabilities are on full display for the world to observe. Next, we'll see how the world is reacting to America's internal struggles and pushing back against its waning power, as the consequences of a divided nation ripple across the international stage. The global landscape is shifting, and America's internal challenges are reshaping its role in the world. A nation consumed by internal division and economic anxiety inevitably projects weakness, whether it intends to or not. And in the ruthless world of geopolitics, weakness is an invitation. The rest of the world, sensing America's distraction and its eroding financial dominance, is pushing back hard. No longer content to merely follow, rivals and even allies are charting their own course. The most direct assault continues on the dollar. China's bond sell-off was the opening salvo in a financial war. The BRICS Plus bloc, emboldened by its successful launch of the Global South Development Bank, has accelerated its plans. Reports from the latest BRICS finance ministers meeting confirm they are pouring resources into their shared payment system, a direct rival to SWIFT, and actively promoting trade settlement in local currencies. Gold purchases by central banks globally have reached record highs in 2025, a clear sign of diversification away from the dollar. Washington's response, the technological quarantine of China, was a powerful countermove, but also a sign of desperation, further fracturing global supply chains and pushing neutral nations towards Beijing's orbit. The financial battlefield is now global, chaotic, and carries immense risks of collateral damage. America's diplomatic influence is visibly shrinking. The disastrous NATO summit revealed a Europe determined to pursue strategic autonomy. Key traditional allies are hedging their bets, unwilling to be drawn into America's conflicts. Saudi Arabia's pivot towards accepting yuan for oil and its deepening ties with China, despite U.S. objections, is a stark symbol of this shift. Even nations heavily reliant on U.S. security guarantees are pursuing more nuanced foreign policies. The unipolar moment is definitively over. America still possesses immense power, but it can no longer dictate terms or expect automatic allegiance. Its attempts to force allies back in line, as seen with the NATO summit, appear to be backfiring. As America looks inward, rivals fill the vacuum. China expands its Belt and Road, now rebranded as more sustainable but no less strategic. Russia reasserts influence in its near abroad. Regional powers carve out spheres of influence. But the most dangerous element is the ticking clock. A sudden crisis, a major default on U.S. debt triggered by foreign selling, another crippling cyber attack, or a severe domestic political breakdown could accelerate these trends exponentially. The external pressure is mounting, exploiting the internal weaknesses. The system is stressed, perhaps near its breaking point. Now we ask, what happens when the clock runs out? Is decline inevitable, or is there a path back from the brink? We stand at a precipice where the American empire, stressed from within by growing internal divisions and challenged from without by rising global powers, faces its moment of reckoning. This critical juncture demands a deep examination of its future trajectory. The trajectory seems clear to many, with internal fractures deepening due to political polarization and social divisions, and external challenges from geopolitical shifts becoming unprecedented. This raises the profound question of whether an inevitable decline is now at hand for the United States. Is a slow, painful decline now truly inevitable, or can this giant awaken from its current state, confront its internal demons of disunity and economic imbalance, and forge a new, more sustainable role in a world it no longer solely dominates? The choice between these paths is critical. History teaches that empires rarely collapse overnight. Instead, it's often a slow erosion marked by a gradual loss of economic vitality, escalating internal strife, and military overreach. This process can span decades, subtly weakening the foundations of power. A fatal inability to adapt contributes significantly to this decline, as seen in unsustainable fiscal policies and a rising national debt that has reached record levels, now exceeding significant expenditures like defense spending. This financial strain constrains the budget and limits future options. One scenario is a managed decline, where the U.S., faced with insurmountable debt and diminished global influence, consciously chooses to retrench. This involves a strategic withdrawal from certain global commitments to focus on domestic priorities. This involves focusing resources on urgent domestic renewal, including critical infrastructure projects, improving education systems, and fostering social cohesion among its diverse population. By doing so, it would accept a role as one great power among equals in a truly multipolar world, rather than striving for sole dominance. A darker, perhaps more likely scenario involves denial and resistance, where America refuses to accept its changing status, lashing out militarily or economically, potentially through actions like a tech quarantine. This approach could exacerbate existing tensions and alienate allies. This could accelerate its decline into a chaotic unraveling, triggering widespread global instability and conflict as the old international order violently collapses. Such a scenario would have far-reaching consequences for trade, security, and international relations worldwide. A decline is not destiny. America retains immense unique strengths, including the world's most innovative tech sector, which continues to drive global advancements, and deep, liquid capital markets that attract investment and foster economic growth. The nation also possesses vast natural resources, world-leading universities that are centers of research and innovation, and a demographic profile that is younger and more dynamic compared to aging populations in China or Europe, offering a potential long-term advantage. Renewal, though incredibly difficult and requiring significant sacrifices, is possible. It would necessitate a monumental national effort and a generational shift in priorities, moving away from short-term gains towards long-term sustainability and collective well-being. It means tackling the national debt through serious fiscal reform, potentially involving a combination of tax increases and spending cuts, launching a national mission to rebuild infrastructure and education, and actively working to bridge the toxic political divide that currently paralyzes progress. This also involves crafting a new, more realistic foreign policy based on pragmatic cooperation and shared global challenges like climate change, pandemics, and nuclear proliferation. Such a policy would prioritize collective security over unilateral action. Such a policy moves away from nostalgia for unilateral dominance, focusing instead on collective solutions and building flexible coalitions with allies and even rivals. This adaptive approach would acknowledge the multipolar nature of the 21st century world. The American reckoning is not just America's story, it is the world's story, as global stability, trade, and security have rested on American power for decades. Its choices will reverberate across continents and impact billions of lives. Its potential decline creates profound uncertainty and risk for every nation, impacting everything from global finance and supply chains to regional peace and the balance of power. The ripple effects would be felt in every corner of the globe. The path ahead is not predetermined. Decline is a choice, and renewal requires immense courage and political will from its leaders and its citizens. The future is still unwritten, dependent on the decisions made today. The choices made in Washington in the coming years will not just shape America's destiny, but the trajectory of the 21st century for all of us, influencing global governance, economic prosperity, and international security for generations to come. The world watches, waits, and holds its breath as the future of global stability hangs in the balance, contingent on America's ability to adapt, renew, and redefine its role in a rapidly changing world.